For our next session, Eat to Live, the impact of nutrition on your health. We're excited to first introduce Jeff Witherspoon, a well-renowned figure in the fitness industry and the founder of E2M Fitness. With a strong background in exercise, science, and nutrition, Jeff has helped over 250,000 people reach their fitness goals with evidence-based practices and personalized coaching. Yeah, woo, right? Joining Jeff is Patricia Fogarty, the outpatient wellness dietitian at Levine Cancer Institute for the past 11 years. Pat teaches monthly virtual nutrition classes on topics such as plant-forward nutrition and nutrition steps for survivors. A graduate of Cornell University with a master's degree in biological nutrition, Pat excels in translating nutrition research into practical, healthy eating strategies. And also with us is Dr. Tiffany Lowe Clayton, with nearly 25 years of experience as an osteopathic physician. Dr. Tiffany is a dedicated family physician and obesity medicine specialist who equips patients with the tools in sustainable and healthy weight loss. Dr. Tiffany is also an assistant professor and director of clinical education at Campbell University School of Osteopathic Medicine in Lillington, North Carolina. Lastly, Tony Newbern. Tony Newbern is a personal trainer, patient advocate, health and wellness coach, and national myeloma health coach. Tony has lived with high-risk multiple myeloma for, am I saying that right, myeloma? Yes, okay, myeloma for more than a decade, and a fierce advocate for patients in his work with Patient Access Network, the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, and other national patient advocacy organizations.
Well, how about a splash? How about that for a splash? How's everybody doing? Good, good, good. Y'all, you enjoying this so far? Oh my gosh, this is absolutely amazing. Well, I am Dr. Tiffany. I am a family physician and a stress expert and an obesity medicine specialist. And I am honored to be the moderator for this particular session. I got an opportunity to speak to every last person on this panel, and I have to say that when we talk and when I hear them talk and hear how passionate we all are about making sure that everybody, in particular individuals in the Black and Brown community, we want to make sure that you are healthy and that you're knowledgeable and getting to where you need to be. So I'm going to ask us all to just have a bunch of questions. Offer what you feel like needs to be said to the audience. And let's just have a talk about eating to live. I love eating to live because that is really our fuel source for our bodies. So just to get started, understanding that, you know, our community really does face a lot of health issues, including many of the chronic medical disease states that we've heard today. You just heard a very powerful talk about Felissa, who had type 1 diabetes, but we know type 2 diabetes is also significantly elevated in our community, high blood pressure, heart disease, all of those types of things. But one of the things that I think often gets overlooked and not talked about so often is obesity and how obesity actually impacts our community. As a matter of fact, in Black and Brown individuals, obesity is one of the most common disease states that we face. And in Black women, 45% of Black women actually struggle with obesity, making us the most common individual to actually struggle with obesity. So in understanding that, that's really what I want to get here today, because what we also know is that while many struggle with obesity, if a person loses at least 5 to 10% of their body weight, they can actually not just improve, but reverse some chronic medical conditions. And so understanding all of that, I'm going to ask my first question. And my first question is going to be to you, Pat, because I think one of the things that we want to talk about in terms of helping patients get to a healthier weight is also understanding that there is no one size that fits all in medicine. And there's definitely no one size that fits all when we talk about obesity medicine or helping people eat right. So, in populations of patients who are Black or brown patients, there's a lot of us who have cultural things that are very important to us culturally. When you address a patient and you talk to them about eating, how do you balance helping them to eat healthier, but then also take into account who they are, their identity, and helping to understand that maybe some of the things that we tell our patients to eat that are healthier just don't align with their cultural goals. Talk about that.
Well, thank you, Dr. Tiffany, and thank you so much for having me today. You know, when we talk about food, it's so complicated, right? Because we have our favorite things we grew up eating, but we know that there are definitely genetics involved, right? Maybe you had a family member who could eat anything they wanted and they never gained weight. And you grew up with them and you put on weight like there was no tomorrow, right? So we know it's a very complicated kind of thing. Culturally, I'm always about making sure that people enjoy their food. You know, we have to enjoy what we're eating, otherwise it just feels like we're being punished. So I always like to help people just figure out ways maybe they can modify things and easy ways that they can go to Aldi's and find things that aren't super expensive. You know, so we're very much in tune with trying to help people where they are, what fits their budget, what are the foods that their family will eat. And the prior speaker mentioned that she had a 9-year-old. So I hear this all the time from people. I might be able to make a certain type of food, but my family's not going to go near that. So, you know, how can we make things taste better? So I really like to work within what people like to eat. You know, what are their favorite foods? Where do they shop? How much money can they spend? How much time do they have? I like to joke around with people that I don't want to spend an extra minute in the kitchen if I don't have to, you know, during the week. Maybe on the weekends I might, but not during the week. So, you know, I think it's very important to be culturally sensitive and to make sure that you're addressing the needs of people. But in terms of, I think there are certain things too that have really changed a lot in the United States since really the 80s. You know, the amount of food that we buy that's already prepared. And even if it's DoorDash, you know, that's still eating out, you know. And I always remind people that restaurants, DoorDash, it's not their job to really nourish you. It's their job to get you to come back.
Y'all hear that? DoorDash is still eating out. DoorDash is still eating out.
Right. So they're really looking to make money in terms of, you know, making it very salty, making it very fatty, making a lot of fried food, which we know is not great for us. So those kinds of things, I really try to help people where they're at.
And I think you were underscoring, I think what I think is important and what I often teach everybody is ask the question. You got to ask the question. It's so important that you have to see the person beyond the patient. We just can't treat clients and we just can't treat patients. You need to ask the question and be able to understand, because we can walk around and say, hey, eat quinoa, couscous, and all that. What if I don't like quinoa and couscous? So what if I can't afford quinoa and couscous? What if I don't even know what quinoa and couscous is? But you got to ask the question to understand how to best treat your patient and individualize that care. Okay. So, Jeff, motivation.
That's right.
That word.
That's right.
Motivation. We hear that so much. And in the hustle and bustle of life and people dealing with increased stress, sometimes motivation can be one of the biggest challenges when it comes to maintaining a healthy lifestyle and maintaining a healthy eating plan. And then also motivation when it comes to being physically active after we deal with work and taking care of children and doing all the things that we have to do. Motivation can be an issue. So how do you help your clients? How do you help them stay committed to their health goals, and especially when they are dealing with stress?
I mean, that's a very big deal, the stress piece. But I'll kind of go back to the motivation piece. The name of my company is Eager to Motivate, because I saw that motivation is the first step. If you don't want to be healthy, you're not excited about it, you're not going to do it. Somebody's always forcing you to do it. And so when I sit down and I talk to people about finding their motivation, sometimes it's easy. It's, I'm getting ready for a cruise, I'm getting ready for a reunion, I'm getting ready for a wedding. Those are easy things to be motivated by. But sometimes the motivation is right in your house, right in your home. If you're a parent, a lot of people will say, I'll die for my kids. I'm sure anybody who has a child will say they'll die for their children. That's probably not going to be an option. It's not probably going to happen where you're going to be called to die for your child. What is more likely to happen is you'll be called to live for your child. That is a lot harder. Dying takes no work. Living takes a lot of work. And so if you're somebody, if you find yourself having a hard time being motivated to be healthy, to eat healthy, to work out, to go walking, to be fit, and you have children and grandchildren, if you've lost a parent or you lost a grandparent and you saw the void that was left when you lost them, that right there can be motivation in itself. I don't want to go the same path my mother went, my grandmother went. I want to be around for my children and my grandchildren as long as I can. I had my only child not too long ago. She's 3 years old, and I'm 43 years old. So that means I'm going to be older with my daughter growing up. I want to be around to, God willing, see my grandchildren. That's not going to come by accident. Have to be motivated to be healthy so I can make that goal happen. And now hitting the stress piece. Sometimes health can be the best medicine, the best solution for being stressed. Finding a way to get out and exercise, to move your body, can sometimes be almost like lifting the stress of the day off you. Even if it's just going for a walk, grabbing a friend, grabbing your child, grabbing your partner, and getting outside and going for a walk.
It's often the things I think that we don't want to do, or the things that we actually have to do. And when we're at a crossroads in life and we're making a difference or a choice between getting what we want and having what we already got, it's the choice can be easy, but sometimes we get caught up in what's comfortable, right? We want to get better, we want to do better, and so the solution is easy. We have to eat better, we have to be physically active, we have to exercise, but sometimes we fall back on what's comfortable, and a lot of times it's based on fear. And I often tell my patients when we're talking about motivation, one of the questions I ask them is, I know you want to lose the weight because you're here, but how ready are you to do whatever it takes to lose the weight? Two very different questions, right? And the answer that they have is okay. Whatever your answer is okay, because I always believe you're never going to fix what you don't face. So where you are is fine, but that helps us to understand how we can get you to where we need to be. And what I will say about motivation is that when you think about changing, recognize that if you're trying to build Rome, it doesn't have to be built in a day. You just got to start with the first brick. Small wins. Small wins make a significant difference. So celebrate yourself whether you've done well all day, or celebrate yourself whether you made a good choice for breakfast. Because sometimes it's one meal at a time. It's not even what you want to do long term. So I think that's very, very important. All right, we're going to shift. We're going to shift a little bit, and we're going to go to Tony. So let's keep this thought a little bit, but shift. One of the challenges that many of my patients actually face is dealing with weight stigma. And they're told from multiple angles about the weight stigma. But one of the things that I think patients who struggle with weight often hear is, you just got to move more and eat less. That's it. It's just that simple. Just eat less and move more. When we know it's so much more complex than that. There's so many things that go into a person's struggle with their weight. But what it can often do is make patients feel like they failed, like it's a moral failure, like they have a lack of willpower, and that it's their fault that they struggle with their weight. And that can be actually reinforced by society and even by some physicians. Some of my own colleagues, it can be reinforced by. So talk to patients or talk to the audience about that stigma, because for many, it can actually leave them feeling deflated and can often have self-condemnation. So when you think about it as a coach and as a patient advocate, and even having your own personal journey, what advice can you give to somebody who is hard on themselves, who says, because I didn't do what I needed to do, it's my fault?
So thank you, Black Health Matters, for allowing me to be here. And thank you, Dr. Tiffany, for that question. I do want to pivot for a little bit with motivation. My grandparents motivated me. So when I was 24 years old, my grandmother, who was very instrumental in my life, and she died from type 2 diabetes. And my grandfather died of kidney disease. And so that was the changing point for me at 24, where I was like, I have to change the way I eat. I don't want to follow down this path that my grandparents went down because they didn't live very long. So that's when my journey began in terms of just cutting out soda. I stopped eating red meat. I only ate animal protein in terms of chicken and fish and turkey. And that was the motivation for me. And I joined a gym. And I had never been in a gym before in my life at 24, but that was the changing point for me. Genetics, we can't change that. That's a part of who we are. Yeah, we cannot pick our parents. That's the DNA from our family. But I did not want to I didn't want to live with the diabetes and being overweight and obese. And that's 85% of my family. So that was motivation for me from that sense. When I tell my clients, when I have them come into the studio and we go over fitness assessment and they're really hard on themselves, and I try to dial out a diagram for them, like, walk me through a day in the life of you, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Tell me what that looks like. And then I give them little caveats that they can take with them to say, you don't have to do it all right away. You can do this in small doses. Start with walks. Cut out sugar. Stay on the outside perimeter of the grocery stores if you can. Don't go in the middle of the aisles. And anyone who is, and I'm going to throw this out there because I think it's very important. The new weight loss drugs that are out there, the Ozempics and the Ninjaros and everything, people need that assistance, and that's okay for you to dial into that if you need that. I think it's very important because we
It's
all
not an
need.
easy way out.
Yes.
It's not an easy
It's
way out.
not
I can't
correct.
underscore that enough. If you need medication, it's okay to have it in addition to lifestyle modification.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. In addition to lifestyle modification and eating healthy as much as you can, going to a gym, getting your body strong, being mentally motivated for yourselves, because the more you put into your health and the work that you put in is going to really make a difference in your life. And I say that because as a patient, I was in the best shape of my life. I'm in the best shape of my life. And at the age of 39, first I started off with back issues, and I went to the emergency room, and there was no incidental findings on an x-ray. And so my back just wasn't getting better, so I went to see a neurologist, and the neurologist ordered an MRI. 2 days later, he informed me that my back was broken. I had a fracture of my L1, my L3, and my L4. So at that point, I just had to wear a back brace. And as I'm wearing that back brace for like a week and a half, it was on September 10th when I was getting out of bed, actually September 14th when I was getting out of bed at 1 o'clock in the morning to go to use the bathroom. And as I'm standing up to get out of bed and put both feet on the floor, my back collapsed. I fell onto the bed, screaming in agonizing pain, went to the hospital, got a CT scan done, and admitted. And on September 18th, just imagine being told you're in complete renal failure, you have a hemoglobin of 6.8, now you have 4 fractures and blood transfusions. You may have a 30% chance of making it out of the hospital. Then you have to go to a rehab facility to learn how to walk all over again.
Do you feel like that it was your aha moment that made you start to eat better and made you start to really just take care of your health?
I kind of doubled down from that because I was already eating healthy. So in that moment, that's when I went to a plant-based diet. I cut out all sugar, and the only thing I eat now is pescatarian. So I only eat fish, and I eat a plant-based diet.
Can I stop you there and just go to that, because I want to make sure that we get to that. Because when we understand, like, what do we eat? Like, what are the things that we are supposed to eat? First thing, I think one of the things that you mentioned was about sugar. Y'all, listen, we have heard for so many years, fat, 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 fat. Everybody heard fat is bad for us. We can't eat. And that is true. That's partially true when we're talking about, eating unhealthy fat, because there's many healthy fats that we can eat. But listen, what we don't talk about more commonly than not is the sugar and the impact of excess sugar in our diets. As a matter of fact, when we think about the non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, it's the sugar, not the fat, that actually cause that. So fat actually gets a bad rap. I often say sugar is the new fat.
Sugar is definitely the new fat. And if you can take home one message from today, stop drinking sugary drinks.
Amen.
They have done more.
Amen.
They have done more to damage Americans' health than anything. And that includes, I hate to say it, but sweet tea, right? I know.
Y'all, sweet tea is bad. Sarah, sorry. It's bad for you.
Now, if any of you have food labels in front of you, I brought a few in to share with you. If they're being passed out, I don't know. But I want to teach you a little skill, and please teach this to anyone who's over, the age of 8 who knows how to divide. Look at the added sugars on a food package. Divide it by 4. That's teaspoons. Okay? So when I'm looking at my 20-ounce Coca-Cola, and I know people who drink 3 of these a day. Okay, it's got 65 grams in added sugar. So if I divide that by 4, that's over 16 teaspoons in one Coke. And we're supposed to have no more than 6 a day. The average American's eating 23 teaspoons every day of added sugar. This is why we are so unhealthy. It's one of the main reasons. And one of the things people don't realize about sugary drinks is that they don't make you feel more full. So if you ate the same number of calories from food, you would feel full. When you drink that sugary drink, you're not feeling more full. It doesn't have the same effect.
Some people actually call it empty calories. I
Yes.
actually say it's not empty, they're toxic calories.
They're toxic calories.
Right? It's like
yeah.
drinking bleach,
Right.
right? If I told you to drink bleach, would you do it?
Right.
No,
Right.
why? Because it's going to kill you. It's going to
Right.
be bad.
Right.
But if you are a person with type 1 or type 2 diabetes and you're drinking something like this, is that not bleach? Just tastes better, right? If we are a person with high blood pressure and we're eating processed foods full of sugar, is that not bleach? It just tastes better. And it will still do the same thing to us. It just does it slowly.
Right.
And so we got to understand how to eat better
Exactly.
when it comes to.
So just remember, 6 teaspoons, 24 grams for ladies for the day, 9 for men. And it's 6 teaspoons for children.
So I want to keep going because we don't have that much time left. But
If you don't mind me jumping in on that one, I know because I give a lot of fitness tips, right? And you can give someone a fitness tip. It sounds great, like don't drink the sugary drinks. You may know that. I have a lot of clients that are actually medical doctors, so they know that. But taking it from the knowledge to application is the key. And so don't look at it as I can never drink a Coca-Cola again. Look at it as how you can drastically bring down the amount of Coca-Colas you drink every day.
The small steps.
Going from the full sugary Coke to a Coke Zero to more water. Look at how you can gradually bring yourself down and wean yourself off of those things, because that was one of my problems. I was a big soda drinker. I don't drink alcohol, but soda was my thing. Even growing up, we didn't drink any water, we drank soda. So going from full straight up soda to diet soda or Coke Zero to drinking more water was a gradual process. So just make sure you have a plan where you're trying to mix in those things and gradually wean yourself off.
And I want to add to that too, because I get a lot of patients that ask me, well, what about the artificial sweeteners? Which one's the best one? Oh, thank you, Lord. Thank you. Hallelujah. Yes, listen. Anything in moderation is okay, and having it every so often is okay, but try to get yourself on unsweetened beverages, because when we think about artificial sweeteners, regardless of what they are, it actually can be 200 times more sweet than actual sugar itself, and can actually be very addictive. And we know that individuals who take in a lot of that, it can actually create that insulin resistance that we're talking about. So in trying to make yourself healthy, it can actually take you away from what you're trying to do. So as you continue to understand how to eventually come off of it, just know that you want to make sure that you're making healthier choices and informed choices for yourself. I'm going to keep moving because we do need to talk about this, which I think is very important because we've heard a lot of people mention about cancer and some of the cancers that are actually associated with obesity. Did y'all know that there's over 13 cancers that are actually associated with obesity? Breast cancer, colon cancer, multiple myeloma is actually a cancer associated with obesity. That's just to name a few. But when a person actually does have cancer, what advice would you give them to be able to eat to maintain their health, and especially if they're immunosuppressed?
Right. Well, I think it really depends on where they are in the process, what medications they're taking. When people are going through treatment, we really want them just to get through the treatment. So we don't ask them to follow anything specifically. If someone's having like a bone marrow transplant where they're really in isolation and that, they may have very special things. But we have at Levine, we have a whole group of dietitians that work with each type of cancer to help the folks going through their treatment. Sometimes with the immunotherapy, people might have side effects like diarrhea, and so they might be on certain foods just to stay away from high fiber, those sorts of things. But moving forward, that's where these classes come into play that I teach. And if any of you have any connection to Levine, please join us. They're free. They're virtual, so you can listen to them on your phone or you can watch along on your computer. But, in that sense, we ask you to watch the sugar, get more plants. You don't have to be completely plant-based. You can still enjoy your fish, your chicken, occasional red meat, but just try to get more plants. When you look at your dinner plate, think to yourself, where are the plants? Half of that plate should be some sort of vegetable, maybe a little bit of fruit. Just more plants will help us. Those trillions of good bacteria that are in our intestines that build our microbiome, they're waiting for fiber. So look at your packages. Does your product that you're looking at, does it have any fiber in there? Try to get at least 25 grams when you have different foods. And by eating plants, you'll be there with no problem.
Now, let's just say, though, if you're not eating a lot of fiber now, don't go from 0 to 25. Your belly will not like you. Okay, it will not like you. But slowly but surely start to increase that. Okay, we have about 5 minutes left, y'all. But I want to talk about this because I think this is something that's really important. And I'm going to let you answer first as it relates to this. And it's really about obesity and body image. And especially in our community. Obesity and body image in a time where there may be some people who may have been told that we're supposed to be thick and we're supposed to have that healthy body, right? And that having the thicker we are, the more healthy we are. And really, people who are caught up in body positivity, which I am a proponent for body positivity, but understanding that body positivity doesn't necessarily equate to a healthy body. What do you tell me what you tell Tony, tell me what you tell your clients about that.
Oh yeah, I base my what is a healthy body is off of what your doctor tells you. If your doctor tells you that your body that you have is healthy, we're all good. I would love for everybody to be the guru abs. Shout out to my brother back there. But that's not going to be everybody. Everybody's not going to have abs. Some people are going to have a flat stomach or not so flat stomach. And so the goal about it is a lot of people don't realize how much stock we put in what we see in the mirror and how much that can change your whole life when you actually like what you see in the mirror. And so when you realize that you're not forced to live in an unhealthy body for the rest of your life, if you still can move your arms and move your legs and pick what you eat, you can change your body image and change the way you feel about your body.
And Tony, what about those people who say, I don't have a big support system? Because we know we can have those loving sabotagers, those ones where we're trying to eat healthier and we're trying to do better. And they say, you did really good. Go ahead and have a piece of cake or have this or have that. It's okay. You've done well. Or I love you so much. Here's some cookies or whatever. What do you say in that realm to those people who may not have a strong support system?
If they do not have a strong support system, you find people around you that's going to support you. Your gyms, your workout family, someone that's really going to lift and pick you up. For myself, I didn't have that support system with my family. And they looked at me like I had 3 heads, but I would prepare my own foods. If I went to a dinner or a reunion, I would have my own snacks to really have for myself to eat on. But I think that you lean on to those people who you know that's not going to judge you and really lift you up to give you that support.
Okay. So now let's shift one more time, and let's talk about, and I know, I think her name was Felissa, was talking about having a doctorate degree, but riding in her car and not being able to afford the things that she has. And when we think about that, we talk about social determinants of health, right? Places where people live, eat, sleep, and play. And they know they're supposed to eat healthy, but they just can't afford it. They can't afford it. And we know that not just social determinants of health, but also structural determinants of health, things like structural racism or unfair housing practices that then market to the community to eat all this fast food or eat all these things that they do. Talk to a person who may be dealing with food insecurity or maybe dealing with not being able to afford how to eat healthy or not having a place that they can eat healthy somewhere around. How do they begin to start? I'll leave that question for anybody.
I'll jump on that. You know, the tough part is not necessarily being able to eat on the budget, it's being able to eat what you want. Because if you go out and you buy your meats and your veggies and your healthy fats from some of these club stores like Sam's, Costco, BJ's, that kind of stuff, you can buy your proteins. You can buy enough proteins for the week on a good budget, enough veggies for the week on a good budget. But it may not be DoorDash, it may not be Uber Eats. And so it's one of those things where you do have to sacrifice some of those, wants for the needs. And you can do it if you keep a tight budget and you shop in bulk.
And I'll also say this, small changes go a very big way. So one of the things that I know we can do, and I know my mother did, I grew up to a single mother of 6 children, and the thing that she knew how to do was open up a can of beans and open up some stuff. We know how to make it when we need to make it, right? So really, it's about when you make the choices, getting the best bang for your buck. Wherever you are, just being able to read nutrition labels, understand what they mean, and then making choices that is going to give you the most nutritious value. Especially when we're thinking about things like carbohydrates. You mentioned sugar, but people need to understand that carbs are sugar. They break down to sugar.
Right, right. And you can get, low fiber white bread, which is not going to give you any real fiber. I think a lot of people have really forgotten about beans. And beans are amazing. You can get a bag of beans for $1.50 and make 10 cups of cooked beans. Like, I think we've gotten so quick in terms of buying things that are prepared for us that we have to go back a little bit in terms of just making more things for ourselves. But I will give a big plug to Aldi's and Walmart. I shop all the time at the Aldi's up the road here. They have amazing prices, and frozen vegetables are much cheaper sometimes than the fresh stuff. So
as long as it's not frozen and processed.
Exactly,
yeah,
right.
Flash frozen. Right. They're going to be your better ones. We stay away from the processed stuff. It's the processed foods. You talked about being in the aisle or in the center of the aisle. We want to stick to the perimeters of our aisles because those tend to be less processed foods. All right, we are out of time just about. So I just want to leave the panel with everybody just one thing, 30 seconds, one thing. If you were going to help people set themselves up for the best opportunity to eat well and eat to live, what would be your final one-liner, your final thought?
Get rid of the sugar. And enjoy your food, but get rid of the sugar. Enjoy it in moderation. Have it at the holidays. Make it a special treat. But just don't load up your body with sugar. We are not built for it. Our bodies were never built for the amount of sugar we're putting into it.
I have to agree with that. The sugar as well. Try to limit yourself to sugar. Get rid of it. They are fats that heal and they're fats that kill. The good fats, the avocados, your nuts, and all that stuff, you stay focused with that. All of the bad fats, fried foods, stay away from it.
Mine is super simple. Find a program, find a coach, find some type of meal plan that is healthy that you can stick to. Do it for 30 days and see how much your body and your energy will change.
And lastly, mine is about renewing our mindset. If we think well and we do well, we set ourselves up in the best position to be well. Remember, this is a lifestyle. It is a journey, and it starts with the first step. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.